In this video, I'm going to be upgrading my Heybike villain into an all-black street Supermoto build. This bike has been an absolute blast to ride. As you can see, I put a bit of wear on it. The rear brake lever's bent, plus the rear tire is pretty bald. That's mostly just from the torque shredding the tire. I've only done a couple burnouts. The rear fender is cracked from my first video with this bike, and since I did the 72 volt upgrade, I just removed the stock display and put a voltmeter. The voltmeter's good enough for an off-road beater bike, but for a street bike I'm going to need a display so I can see my speed. To get this build started, I received a care package from Heybike. I know it's advertising for them to send me parts to use in a video, but I still want to say thank you to them because this is like a dream build for me. I see all these YouTubers doing sponsored builds where they get a big box of goodies, and I always thought, man, that would be so cool to do one day, and here it is. Inside the box were the tires, these black side panels with yellow text, a rear fender just for me because I broke my old one, and then the black seat. Now I can't just slap these parts on the bike, it's time to do a full refresher on the bike to make sure it's ready. The first thing I noticed when taking the bike apart is the bolt fell out of the motor shaft, so I put a new one in there with a lot of Loctite, so hopefully it stays put. The next thing I noticed was this bushing on the shock was not centered, and it turns out that was because the C-clip wasn't in the groove, so I took it out and I flipped it around and put it back in, so hopefully the shock will stay centered. The third thing I noticed was that the front brake disc was completely covered in an oily substance, which is not good for your braking ability. I thought it was because the brake caliper was leaking brake fluid, but it turns out it was something else. Now that I have the bike taken apart, it's time to get rid of any big pieces of yellow on the bike since I want that blacked out look. These panels are the easy part, they just have a yellow sticker. I thought I could just peel it off with no heat, but it started ripping, so I went and got the heat gun and blasted it, and the stickers came right off. Now it's time for the harder part of removing the yellow, the swing arm. I took the bolts and nuts out from here, and now it's time to remove the sticker and then remove the plastic pieces. I also decided that I'm going to remove the chain guide mount, since this bike never even had a chain guide. After that, I'll sand the paint down so the black paint sticks to it a lot better. When I started peeling these stickers off, I realized it was going to take way too long since they were just breaking apart, so I grabbed a wire wheel to try that since I didn't really care about the paint. It turns out it didn't affect the paint at all. They must have used the good stuff when painting this swing arm. I was pushing down really hard to get these stickers off, and I literally can't see a single mark. Here's where I cut off the chain guide mount. I made sure to grind it down smooth so you could never even tell it was there. Once I wire wheeled off that other sticker, it was time for sanding. This took about 2 hours, but I think it was definitely worth the time. While I was sanding it, I realized one of the bearings didn't even spin at all, which can't be good. There's no wear marks in the inside of it just scraping, so I guess once the bolt's in, it helps it spin, but I don't know about that. I decided to also paint the 2 aluminum battery mounts. I made sure to sand them down really well because I don't want the paint flaking off when a rock hits them. For these parts, I started off with a super tough satin black paint. I got it on there pretty perfect, there's not a single drip anywhere, and it's super evenly coated. However, the satin black won't match the rest of the frame, so it's time to finish it off with 2 layers of clear coat. While I was waiting for the swing arm and the battery mounts to dry, I went ahead and cleaned every single part on the bike as well as I could. I really packed it with mud when I drove through that muddy road, so there was mud in every little crevice, but I think I did a good enough job of getting it all clean. Assembling the bike was the fun part after all of that sanding, painting, and washing. The first part I decided to install was the swing arm. People kept complaining that I wasn't greasing my axles on the other bikes I assembled, so I'm going to grease the axles on this bike very well. Here's the swing arm installed on the bike. That glossy clear coat matches the frame perfectly. Now it's time for the tires. I already swapped the brake discs onto them, and I also swapped out the stock 60-tooth sprocket for a smaller black 53-tooth sprocket to match the paint scheme and to give me a higher top speed. I decided to also remove the curve part of the Kenya Curve logo because it didn't match the color scheme since it was orange. I used this tiny wire wheel on my Dremel to do that. Both of the tires came with a new set of spacers. The front tire bolted up totally fine, but the rear needed some help. As you can see, there's a gap between the brake caliper mount and the swing arm. It needs a couple washers to fill it in, and luckily this comes with some washers. I ended up using 4 of them to fill that gap, and it looks like it aligned the tire perfectly. After this, I put the chain on and used my link removal tool to remove a couple links since this sprocket is smaller. However, the chain tension is tight one way, and if I rotate it 180 degrees, it gets loose, so that makes me think the rear sprocket is not aligned. To fix this, I loosened up the 4 bolts holding the rear sprocket on, then spun the rear tire around until the chain was as tight as possible, and then I squeezed the chain a little bit to try and pull the sprocket into position. After doing this for a while, I got the chain to be consistently tight no matter how I spun the rear tire. However, I ended up stripping out the bolts before I can get them tight enough, so I'm going to switch them out for some black bolts. At least I'm keeping to the color scheme. With the wheels, tires, and chain installed, it was starting to look like a real Supermoto. However, I realized that the axle bolt doesn't actually engage with the locking feature on the nuts, so I made sure to take the nuts off and add some blue Loctite to make sure they never loosen up. After that, it was time to install the battery. Here's how the battery looks with the freshly painted battery mounts. They definitely blend in a lot better now. Now it's time for the rear fender. Hopefully this one lasts longer than the first one and I don't loop the bike out or kick it off again. Before I cover up all of the wiring with the side panels and the seat, I think it's time to replace this voltmeter. I decided to get this Socian display because it's small, so it should match the small bike. It comes with a wiring harness, 12-volt converter, and a mount with some bolts. I took one look at the display's wiring harness and I decided I wanted to change some things. I don't need any more big ol' plugs because there's already so many on the Villain's wiring harness, plus I don't need 2 super long grounds and whatever these other plugs are, so I'm just going to cut those all off. Plus, I think this 12-volt converter is super OP just for running one display. It's a 10-amp converter and there's no way this display even takes 1 amp, so I'm going to swap it out for a 2-amp converter. Sure enough, the display only takes 1/10 of an amp, so yeah, even the 2-amp converter is super OP. I'll save the 10-amp converter for a future vehicle build that might actually need lights or a horn or turn signals or anything like that. The 12-volt converter and the display only need a total of 3 wires to be connected correctly, so I thought the wiring would be quick and easy. However, it wasn't. I have easy access to the ground and the battery positive wire because I already wired them to the voltmeter, but I couldn't find the signal wire for the display. It turns out this harness is specifically made to go with this bike, and since this bike didn't use that wire, they didn't even pin that wire in the harness. So I'm going to take a pin out of this other harness I have and install it in the harness in the Heybike. I thought this would be pretty hard since these pins aren't exactly designed to be removed, but one Google search gave me a quick method. The pins are shaped like this, with these 2 little pieces sticking out of the side that kinda latch in once you push the pin in place. The method to remove them is to grind 2 paper clips down thin and then bend the end a little bit in, just like this. That way you can push it in beside the pin and push down those little tabs. If you do this on both sides in the right way, you can just pull it straight out. Once I got the pin out of the other harness, I used some tweezers to shove it into the Heybike's harness until I heard it click into place. It seems like it's in there pretty good, and once I actually click the whole harness into place, it should hold it a lot better. Now that I had the 3 wires that I needed, I wanted to do a quick test with the display to make sure it worked, so I grabbed a bunch of alligator clips and hooked it all up. I think I'm definitely going to use this display again. It really gives you just the info you need without being super big and bulky. Now it's time to mount it. I didn't really like the mount it came with. It just puts it so high up, which means it's just going to vibrate back and forth and be annoying, so I'm going to ditch that mount and do my own. I like my displays to be tucked in as much as possible since it's not like I'm staring at them the whole time I'm riding. This was super easy to do on this bike with this little piece of aluminum with 4 holes and a little cutout for the wire. This will make the display not vibrate at all and it's not sticking out ready to get hit on something. It's also nice that I didn't even have to break out the welder. This is something you could do with just a drill and a hacksaw. Now that the display's mounted, I can focus on the wiring. I went ahead and bolted the 12-volt converter to the frame right here so it isn't just bouncing around inside the side panels. After that, I ran the display wire with the existing wires and wrapped it all up. I soldered and heat shrinked all the wires so now they're good to go. I turned the bike on to check that I did everything right, and then I saw this race indicator here. This made me remember that I don't have a way to switch the modes on the bike. I didn't really care before, but since this is a nice bike, I kinda want to do it now. I could just put a 3-speed switch, but I decided I'm going to turn the reverse button into a race mode button so I don't have to redo all the wiring I just routed. To do this, I needed to find where the reverse mode button was hooked up, so I put my multimeter in continuity mode and started checking a bunch of stuff until I found this green and blue connector. When I press the button, it has continuity, and then when I press it again, it loses it, so it's perfect. But of course it wasn't that easy. The blue and white wire that I needed that's on all the normal far driver harnesses isn't on the Heybike harness. After adding another wire to the wiring harness, I was going to steal the ground wire out of the programming plug since this controller has built-in Bluetooth, so I don't need it anymore. However, I realized that the reverse wire already has one side as a ground wire, so I should be able to just cut the other side and patch in my own wire and it should work. It did end up working, but only after I set these two values in the functions section on the far driver controller. I never really poked around with any of the settings in this section before, but I really should. It looks like there's some cool stuff you can do. Now when the bike is on, I can click the button and switch between eco mode and race mode. I think 2 modes is plenty for this bike since it isn't super powerful. But now it's time to put on the seat and the side panels. But before I put on this side panel, I need to do some trimming on it to fit the charging port, since on the yellow side panel I trimmed it a bunch. To get the charging wires in place, I had to make a tiny little cut on the thin part of the panel, but it really isn't noticeable. And just like that, the bike's done. Originally, I planned on switching the color scheme completely and getting rid of any little bit of yellow, but I'm so glad I didn't. I absolutely love the look of the black and silver with a little bit of yellow here and there. At this point, I just sat back and admired the bike, and then I realized that this is probably the best Heybike in the world right now. But before I can start enjoying it, I need to calibrate the speedometer. Right now it's in kilometers an hour, but if you turn the key on and then hold the middle button on the side, it'll switch it over to miles an hour. Now that it's in America mode, I rode the bike at a consistent speed down my street and compared the speedometer readout to a GPS speedometer app on my phone and adjusted the speed pulse number until the two readings were the same. I rode it around for a while and everything was working great except for the front brakes. I just cleaned them off and they were still covered in oil, so I realized it was the front shock leaking oil and it was dripping all over the brake caliper. You can see the color on the caliper compared to the rear brake, which doesn't have any oil on it. It looks like I'm going to need a new front left shock since that seal is totally blown. But that's not stopping me for now since I barely even use the front brakes. I decided to take off the rear fender and swap to the yellow seat so I could practice some wheelies without risking me looping out and destroying those two brand new parts. I never really practice doing wheelies, I just wheelie whenever I'm out riding, so taking the time and putting on a helmet, elbow pads and knee pads and just spending an hour or two practicing wheeling actually helped me get a lot better. Anyways, it's time for the top speed run I always do right away. I topped out at 57 miles an hour, which was disappointing since I wanted to hit 60. However, I realized I was going into the wind, so I turned around and went the other way and I went 63 miles an hour. So averaged those out and I hit my goal. Also, I apologize that this clip is so low quality, I have no idea what happened to it. When you're going pretty slow, you can just pop it straight up into the balance point with just the throttle. If you're going a little bit faster, you have to give it a little pull, but nothing crazy. After this ride, I noticed the shock was dripping all over the tire, so I think it's about time I fix this. As soon as I told them the shock was leaking, Heybike sent me another one, no questions asked. However, this new shock won't fix everything. I still have to clean the brake rotor and the brake pads. To clean off the brake pads, I first just scraped off all the black sludge. After that, I cleaned them off really well with brake cleaner and then sanded the surfaces to expose a new surface that shouldn't have any oil on it. After doing all of that, I decided to swap a non-bent brake lever off of one of my other bikes onto this bike, since this bike is a much higher priority. And just like that, this bike build is totally done. I really love how this bike turned out, and I think now it truly lives up to the villain name. I'm pretty sure I could ride this bike around endlessly doing wheelies, jumps, and other Supermoto stuff and never get bored. However, that's a problem because I'm definitely going to get in trouble if I keep this bike. So if you are in East Kansas and you're interested in buying this bike, just message the email in the About section of my YouTube channel. But before you send an email, check the pinned comment, because I'll say there if I've sold it yet, because I don't want to get a ton of emails for no reason. I'm not going to way overvalue this bike like people love to do when selling their e-motos. I'm just going to sell it for the same cost as a new stock villain. Speaking of a stock villain, if you want to buy one, I'll leave the link in the description. It looks like they also have a fully blacked out version available for pre-order, so that'll save you a lot of time if you do want a blacked out bike. It looks like the front fender is different and it has a tail light, so those are two good additions. If you do end up buying one, make sure to use the code CALTHECOOL to save some money. Anyways, that's it for this video. Thanks for watching.